Okay, well, it's 10:15. We would like to welcome you this morning to our first breakout session of the day. Thank you for being here. And I see that everyone has turned off their video and audio, but if at any time you want to interact or ask questions, feel free to use that box or even to unmute yourself as we go throughout the next hour together. I'm Allison Travers from the Delaware Academy for School Leadership, and we thank you for attending today. We are recording this session, and we'll be sharing the session with others who are attending other sessions at this time. I'd like to introduce at this time our presenter, Karin. Karin is principal of North Star Elementary School in Red Clay School District, and she has served over the past 20 years as a teacher, a district office special services specialist, an assistant principal, and now a principal. And I can see that her passion really lies in supporting the students and educators that she leads, particularly through the idea of mindfulness. Karin is certified in mindfulness fundamentals and mindful educator essentials. And we're really looking forward to hearing what she has to share with us today as we think about supporting the social and emotional needs and opportunities with both our students and our staff. So with that said, I welcome Karin to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today and taking time out of your busy, crazy, hectic, unknown summer that all of us are dealing with. It's very valuable for me that you're taking the time to join today. So I hope you find something of worth and a takeaway. That's something that will help change and influence you personally and influence what you do in the education field. If you could first throw in the chat for me whether you're a teacher / which entity you're with, say Red Clay, or maybe you're an education associate from DOE. It's kind of fun to just see who's in the audience, especially virtually. So if you could just add in the chat, we'd love to see who's on this training with us today. Or if you're not able to add in the chat, I get that too, as we're all doing a bunch of other things. There we go. And Administrator, Dean of Students, welcome. Lucretia, Assistant Principal, awesome, wonderful, welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning. And as Allison said, a little bit of my background, I was a first, second, and third grade teacher in a private school. And then I spent some time in a charter school teaching fourth grade. And then I came to Red Clay working in 2 of the elementary schools as like a child team study facilitator. I don't know if some of you remember that role years ago, instructional support, IST. It's changed names over time. And I've worked really closely with a lot of struggling kids, and especially kids who didn't really qualify for a 504 or an IEP, but just really struggled and had barriers to their learning. And then I pursued my doctorate degree and wrote my dissertation in that area, where I created this learning mentor position within schools that could really help that population of kids who just needed support but didn't have the official supports lined up to support them. So I'm passionate about helping kids. I'm passionate about helping them see themselves in a different light than maybe how they present themselves, because kids are kids, and sometimes I think we think of them as like robots, and we're like, come on, get to it, do what you're supposed to do. Just sit there and do the school like we all know it to be, right? And we know that doesn't always happen. And what do we do when we have kids that show up like that day after day? Before we go to the next section, I wanted to read a little poem that I learned from, I went to Harvard has the summer training that they offer week-long trainings for educators and administrators. And I was there, I had the fortune to go one summer. And this poem left me forever changed. And I want to share it with you as we reflect on the next piece of information that we're going to share. It's called Flight from the Shadow by Chang Tzu. There was a man who was disturbed by the sight of his own shadow, and so displeased with his own footsteps that he determined to get rid of both. The method he hit upon was to run away from them. So he got up and ran. But every time he puts his foot down, there was another step. While his shadow kept up with him without the slightest difficulty, He attributed his failure to the fact that he wasn't running fast enough. So he ran faster and faster without stopping until he finally dropped dead. He failed to realize that if he merely stepped into the shade, his shadow would vanish, and if he sat down and stayed still, there would be no more footsteps. And as a follow up to that poem, there was an educator who wrote in a Words of Encouragement newsletter. As an educator, and I think this might sync with us today, we consider our to do list to be our constant companion, right? It helps keeps us focused, prioritizes our daily activities, gives us a sense of achievement. When I cross off the completed tasks, right, that feels good for us. The one thing it doesn't accomplish is just to let me be. After all, it's a to do list, right? Not a to be list. We all seem to be addicted to the demands placed on us by ourselves and others, but finding ways to escape the busyness in our lives requires thoughtful consideration. I make every effort to get away from my work environment for short periods of time. So this individual said sometimes they'll take a solitary lunch break or go out for a drive for a few minutes. Doing so changes my perspective and gives me the valuable alone time that I need to reframe my thinking and keep myself in touch with my inner voice. So the poem that I read, Flight from the Shadow, it's the perfect antidote to the frantic pace of our everyday lives, which we all face, right? It reminds me and others that we must step into the shade, sit down, and stay still. Being still, even for brief periods of time, gives us the chance to listen to our inner voice, gain broader perspectives, and thus better serve ourselves as well as our students and staff. And so, as I change the slide, I want you to think and take a risk and throw into the chat what's something you do to step into the shade? It could be one thing. Maybe you go for a bike ride, go for a walk in the park. Maybe it's just sitting quietly, listening to calm music. Yeah, taking a walk. Love that out in nature, totally refreshes. Walk your dogs. Yeah, right? So before we go on, I just want us to think for a minute, what is something you do to take care of yourself? Because if we all know, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't be the best for our staff, our students, our parents, right? Even our families personally. Gardening, yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing. So what happened with us here at North Star that I wanted to share with you? Give me a second to flip. There we go. So in the last, several years, throw in the chat box if you agree, disagree somewhat. Haven't we seen more and more needs of the mental health needs, specifically of kids, on the rise? So much so that I would be looking at my school psychologist, school counselor some days and just be like, what are we going to do? Like, we have to address this. And for so long, I kept waiting for someone else to do something, right? The state has to come out and provide something more for kids in schools, right? And I work in North Star, which is in a very, um, affluent area. We don't have family crisis therapists on staff like some of our other red clay schools. And we really would get frustrated internally with my support staff because you're looking at it like I'm it. And I didn't always feel like I had the tips and the tricks and the tools to really help some of these kids. And we had the kids with escalated behaviors, challenging behaviors, ripping the room apart, tearing my office apart. Like, we would just sit there and pull our hair out and be like, we have got to do more for these kids. And we felt at such a loss to even do more. So this slide kind of represents the frustration and the struggle we have felt at North Star. And I'm going to be safe to assume that we're all feeling that more and more. And even through this pandemic, I think it has multiplied and increased even more percentage-wise, right? So in the spring, I came across Kira Willie did a TED Talk on mindfulness, and she shared this statistic that from the National Institute of Mental Health, looking at 10,000 adolescents in the country, if 1 in 4 to 5 adolescents meets the criteria for a mental health disorder, and anxiety being number one, with the median onset of age 6, that's so young. The researchers' conclusion was that it shows that we got to shift from treatment to prevention and early intervention. And she was talking about how mindfulness could be a way to intervene to create what won't cause this statistic to continue in our country. And I know, I'm sure you feel it. I feel it. Anxiety is a very highly, it comes up a lot within our school. And we continue to just look at each other and just say, how can we help support these kids? So what it looked like at North Star was our school counselor's daughter goes to Cook Elementary. And she said to me one day, Cook Elementary has this mindfulness coach coming in 8 weeks for 15 minutes each time. And she does this lesson like you see in this picture. And she brought it to our MTSS team. We have a multi-tiered systems of support team that meets monthly. And she said, I don't know what we have to do, what grant we have to write, what money we have to pull together, but we got to have this lady come. Like, our kids need that. So 2 years ago, we piloted it just for the first graders because we got some grant money. I put some building budget money together, and we took a risk to provide this for the kids. Well, the feedback from the kids and the staff was so overwhelming that our school building leadership team determined this past school year we would invest for all the kids in the school to have this 8 weeks, 15 minutes each time. Coach Linda came in and taught them these mindfulness lessons. So very simply, what is mindfulness? It's such a buzzword. I mean, when our school district public relations officer heard that we were doing mindfulness, and a local Delaware State News called and said, I want to do an article, I'm interviewing principals on mindfulness. She called me, we did the interview on the phone with another teacher, and before we knew it, the article hit the Washington Post. Like, it's such a buzzword out there, right? It's not that we're all sitting and humming, burning incense. I mean, we all get this idea, right? It's not, we're following Buddha. I mean, there's a lot of things that we think it is, and it's really not. It means maintaining a present moment awareness. It's teaching kids and adults, what does it mean to be aware of the present moment I'm in, how I'm feeling, what's happening around me, in a non-judgmental way. And think of how quick we are to judge ourselves, our thoughts, other people, right? That's kind of like present with us often. And if we could get to that place to teach kids to be aware of themselves, their bodies, and to teach them some tools and strategies to help them come to that place of stillness, it's incredible what has happened and the effects of this that the kids have learned from it after we taught them some of these lessons that include kindness, compassion. The lessons are just so beautiful. So here's a couple other things that aren't surprising, right? Educator burnout, 50% of educators, they're leaving the profession within 5 years. We have got to help our educators, especially now, even more so. And we even needed to help them abundantly before this pandemic. Learning readiness, we know toxic stress directly impacts students' learning, their executive functioning, reduces attention spans. How many times are teachers saying, like, the kids can't focus, they just can't attend? I mean, this is like a growing, increasing problem, and we need something to help these kids. So the benefits, there's over 30 years of research. It's continuing to grow. The research on mindfulness for adolescents is actually so primitive that they are still trying to collect the data. And I'm going to show you some that we collected within our school, which is just so exciting to see because there is a growing need for collecting data in this area for the young students. And you can see these 3 areas that, as we plan to reopen schools, look how much we are trying to put emphasis and focus and weight into these categories of how we're going to support kids and staff in the next school year. So Mindful Schools is what Coach Linda is certified through, and she offered to our staff to take the Mindfulness Fundamentals course, which is a 6-week online course. And I actually took a step, and I did not plan for this in my budget, but because of the feedback from the kids and the staff that was overwhelmingly positive, I chose to take a risk and say, I will fund any teacher who decides to take this course. That's how much it meant to us. And I wanted to invest in the teachers and the students. And we had about 8 to 10 teachers take this first course, including myself. And it was extremely powerful. It changed how I took care of myself, how I would be able to start my mornings and just sit quietly. It was the only thing that could calm me in that craziness of being a principal and dealing with 1,000 things and the weight of running a school. It is the number one thing. And I attributed exercise to really helping me stay kind of fresh mentally. But when I started these mindfulness practices, I'm telling you, it's the number one thing that really helped center me, bring that place of stillness and calm for my brain to function and just think clearly. And then there's this step 2, mindful educator essentials. And only myself and one of my special ed teachers took this. And this is where you learn the lessons to teach to the kids. Because I thought if I could learn the lessons, then I could teach the lessons to the kids and continue this process, because it was about a $12,000 investment for the coach to come and teach all 650 kids for the 8 weeks. And so what happened was, at the end of the coach's 8 weeks, she did a survey from the beginning to the end, grades 2 to 5, a total of 283 kids. And you can see it just broken down for you, boys and girls. 60% enjoyed it, 36% enjoyed it sometimes. Okay. 28% felt it helped them get better with their grades. Self-reporting, 52%. Half of them felt like it improved their focus. That's huge. 26% felt that it made them happier. When I saw these, I was just so elated. 60% felt it helped them calm down. We were giving all the kids in our school a strategy to use and a tool to practice to help them calm down. And they were saying that it helped them. It's not just that we taught them. Yeah, we teach a program, but the fact that these kids were self-reporting this, it got me so charged. 43% felt it helped them sleep. If I could get any kid to help sleep, 1% would have made it worth it for me. 34% felt that it made them happier at school because of these lessons. 92% of the children believe children should learn mindfulness. That was so powerful to me. I just wanted to get up and shout it across the entire US and say, educators, we've got to provide this for the kids in these schools. 44% think they'll use it in the future. Okay, and some may, no problem. 36% taught someone. The coach Linda would come to me and say, I can't tell you how many kids are saying, I went home and taught it to my sibling. I had parents saying, I'm seeing my child teach their sibling at home. How is this happening? You can't even get a kid to tell you at the end of the school day, what did you learn in school today? I don't know. Gosh darn it, they were there for 8 hours and they can never remember one blessed thing. How often is that story told? And these kids were going home. I was getting emails from parents. My kid is using the strategies you're telling them. They're taking their breaths. I'll have a video at the end of this to show you of kids sharing how they have used this. 64% practice at home, 72% practice it at school. The top 4 areas that kids scored highly in a percent in, 92% believe children should learn it, 72% practice at school, 64% at home, and 60% said it helped them calm down. So how did North Star's journey begin? 3 years ago, I read this picture book on the top by Louise Hay, I Think I Am. And if you've never seen this book, I encourage it. If there's one thing you take away from this morning, buy this book and read it to your kids. Do a star party with them, or just record a Zoom. Well, get the permission, because there's always that involved. And read it to your kids. It has so changed our kids' lives. Here's one example of a page. Have you ever done something you wish you hadn't? You might get mad at yourself and think, I can't believe I forgot my sweater. I always forget everything. Keep positive. Say to yourself, I learn from my mistakes and move on. We took a positive affirmation in kid language, because it's kid friendly and they get it. It's not like something like you might say and it's like, well, what does that mean? And it teaches kids to use positive affirmations to change their thoughts. A thought is just a thought, and it can be changed. And we ended up, actually, a kid in fourth grade said to me, Dr. J, you should read a positive affirmation on the morning announcements every day. So for a whole year, we all would say it. I would say it, they would repeat it, we'd start our day with it. Then the following year, I found this book, I Am Peace, a book of mindfulness. And if and when you get that book, it has a little kind of guided mindfulness practice at the end. And at North Star, you might do something similar. We have a star party. So one student from every class is the star of the week. And one day a week, they all come to the principal's office and we read them a book. So I read this book and led them in this mindfulness where it talks about breathing, taking in a deep breath, kind of like a belly breath. And it was just a beautiful, simple practice that just was very low key, calm, and just helped them kind of come to that place of still. And then that's when we learned about Coach Linda. So we brought her in, and this whole year, she did the 8 weeks, each grade, 15 minutes. And the data graphs that I just showed you was the data from the kids' self-reporting. And then I started teaching lessons because then I had gotten that certification throughout the year. And one day I was like, the parents have no idea what we're doing. We're doing mindfulness, and that sounds great, but they really have no idea what we're really doing. So I got a kid who had some struggling behaviors, and I empowered him with a job of being the photographer, and he would videotape me teaching some of these lessons to the kids. And then he developed a YouTube channel for me because fifth graders know how to do that, not me. And he was so excited. Like, it was so cool. This kid got like so full of, he was just proud, and he had a low self-esteem because of his behaviors, let's just say, for several years. And this just brought out a whole new side of him. It was so exciting for him to see, and the parents started able to see it. And that's what you'll see, some of these pictures here that show that. And then through the program, Coach Linda bought this chime, which you see on the picture in front of you. And I'm just going to lead you through a simple breathing that she would teach the students and start every lesson and end the lesson with, which then I in turn started every morning, or at least one morning a week, on the live announcements. So what you do is you teach the kids that you're going to sit with your backs up tall like a tree, rest your hands gently on your lap, let your eyes close, and sometimes kids don't feel comfortable with closing their eyes, so you just say or look down at the floor. And when I ring the chime, we're going to take 3 deep breaths in and out, and that's usually by the time the chime ends. So we're going to practice that. So if your backs are up tall, just rest your hands gently. When I ring the chime, just take in 3 deep breaths, and let's let our eyes close. Here we go. Slowly, slowly open your eyes. So each of the mindfulness lessons begins and ends, and the kids are used to that breathing activity with the bell. And then I did that once a week on the morning announcements. We would say, like, let's take a minute Tuesday and just do our breaths together. And what is really cool is that before COVID hit, I was creating videos on the YouTube channel and sharing them with parents. And then when we all went remote or shut down, however you want to call it, I actually was able to continue making videos because it was what I was used to doing. And they got so much out of it, and they could watch it anytime. And now I even do the announcements over the summer, recognizing summer birthdays with a mindful moment, because we never figured out a way to celebrate summer birthdays. And the other 2 pictures on this screen show you a simple way you could practice this with your staff, or teach them to practice it with kids, or yourself with the students. And it's very simple that when you think of a rose and you go to smell it, and you take that deep breath in and let the air out. And that's a simple way to give them an example of how to breathe. Like, let's all pretend we're smelling that beautiful, amazing pink rose, and then you could just lead them in that. Another one is like, imagine you're holding a cup of hot chocolate and it's so hot and you don't want to drink it yet because it's going to burn your tongue. Okay, ready? We're going to blow on the hot chocolate to cool it down, and you have them like take in a deep breath and you blow. So you could even do this practice with your own kids. And in some of my videos, and I'll show you my YouTube channel, it's called Mindfulness with Dr. J, that I created with the 5th grader. One of the videos teaches parents these 2 strategies and just encourages parents, like, find one time in the day where you could take this mindful moment with your kids and maybe create a consistent time of day. We talked about getting in the car when you're getting ready for school. But just, they call it like bite-sized mindfulness practices. Just start small. And then I wanted to show you a brief video of what kids actually said about this work. So let me just make sure you guys can hear this.
When I'm trying to go to bed at night to calm down.
I use it when I'm angry or jealous.
If I'm doing a test, especially the Smarter Balance test,
Yeah.
it just helps me calm down.
Yeah, because when I'm doing state testing, it just really freaks me out. What am I gonna get for this grade? So.
This weekend I was doing my cleaning chores or something like that, and my mom was helping my brother do something because he just turned 16, and so I was asking her a bunch of questions, and I asked her so much that she was so busy with my brother she couldn't answer both. So I went down the basement to play on my PC, and it started to really annoy me because I kept asking her and she was really busy. So I took 10 deep breaths and it really helped me relieve all the stress from my body.
Hello guys, I'm going to be showing you what my favorite mindfulness practice is. I like doing the finger touch when you go breathe in and then you breathe out. It's also really good for when you're at night and you have say if you have a bad dream or you're thinking of something, that would be a good one to do.
And then there's just one other video to show you how else we have used this in school. Guys, the coolest thing happened today. Okay, so there was 2 kids who came to my office completely upset, right? About 1st grade age. And the one was really crying, and the other kid said he needs to do his ball breath. So I said to him, do you want to do a ball breath? And he was like, no, and he kept crying. So I got my iPad, I pulled up the YouTube video, and if you see in one of my other videos, it walks a child through the ball breathing activity, and I played it for him, and he actually watched it, did the breath with it, and by the end was smiling, able to talk, calm and in control of his body, and it was the coolest thing. I had no idea what would happen, but it was so cool, I had to share it with you. So if it doesn't work when you say to your child, let's do the ball breath, if you show them the video, they actually might do it with the video, and hey, I'd love you to check it out, maybe it'll work for you. I don't know if it'll work for me next time, but it was really cool to see it happen today, so I wanted to share. Give me 1 second here. So these are just several success stories, some testimonies that teachers, parents, students have shared with me since we've started this work in our school. And I guess what I wanted to just share with you today is I thought I was waiting for the state or someone to come into my school to help my kids with their mental health needs. And when we started this mindfulness work and I saw the effects of it through the students' observations And even when I had to work with a troubled kid and we were doing this breathing that got them back to a place where they could actually talk about what happened and not just be emotionally upset and charged still, I got just so charged and fired up because we were actually creating this support for them. And I couldn't help but just dive in 110% because that's what we've been waiting for. And so now we feel like we are actually front loading them with training, strategies, skills, and watching them use it. And it's helping them and it's creating that change that we have been hoping for years. That I don't know, I was just like electrified. Like when I saw that data and I shared it with the staff, I was like, guys, this is so powerful. We have to continue this work. And so, like I mentioned, I started a YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe. Mindfulness with Dr. J. You can see a bunch of the videos that we've posted. And even when we went remote the last 2 months of school, I've got some videos on coronavirus and washing your hands and staying healthy, sleeping, getting enough sleep, hydrating. Like we were just trying to find anything to help kids to stay positive, learn. And our big tagline, it just is, we want kids to be happy and healthy, right? Who doesn't? So feel free to follow us on Twitter. That's our North Star Smile account that I manage and sometimes upload the videos through there. And then Facebook, it's just a personal page that you can follow us on as well. But several ways to just stay connected, learn more, share with your staff. Shoot me any questions you have. I'd love to take, we have some time now to open it up for questions. And I wanted to include that if you would like a free mindfulness lesson video of one that I did with the kids, just email me at the email address there, and I'd love to send you just a link to the video and some more picture books that we have used on mindfulness. And I just really appreciate having the opportunity to take the time to share with you something that we have found so helpful, incredibly helpful, that beyond that we would even knew initially. And I'm so fired up. I'm like, we got to tell the world, like, to help our kids with this mindfulness practice, not only for ourselves, but for our staff and families. So thanks for tuning in. So thanks for following. Allison just followed us on North Star Twitter. You're the best. So any questions for us on our process or steps we took or any takeaways? I hope you found some value in this training. Hope it inspired you. Thanks for all you do, educators. I know if you're principals and administrators on this call, we're in a lonely position and don't always get the thanks, and you're doing a great job. And just from one administrator to all of you out there, please know that you're doing an incredible work. And the principals, the administrators, we stand, at the door of our school, and what emotion we carry is what our staff feels and what our students feel. So take the time for yourself and do what you need for you to then be the best for your kids, because they deserve it. What's the best way to use this for middle and high school students? So there is, through Mindful Schools, if you take that first course that I showed you, the 6-week one, you have to take that as a prerequisite to the second course where I learned the lessons. And they actually give you lessons for adolescents and middle school. I haven't dipped into them yet. My idea is actually to explore those as well and create videos so that we could open it up on the YouTube channel. So even you as educators could be like, hey teacher, here's a group of videos that you can share with your kids and practice together with them. So there is an adolescent/middle school program for that. I can't remember if I've seen the high school one, not or yet, but it's such a burning topic right now. I'm sure there's more that they're going to come out with.
Karin, I was wondering, I can tell you're really excited and passionate about this. Did you have a couple of staff members, teachers that really jumped on with you as you were starting to implement this with students? Like, how did that play out?
So when we brought 2 years ago, the program to just first grade, I had one of the first grade teachers come to me at the end of it, and she was honest and candid enough to say, I was so not into this at first and just kind of skeptical and like, what is this? Why this? And she said by the end of watching this Coach Linda work with her kids those 8 weeks, she said, this is incredible. And more people, like she actually volunteered and wanted to tell the entire staff, hey, there's like something really powerful in this. For someone who was like a complete skeptic and non-believer, if you would even put it that way. So it was interesting that as they just experienced it, they kind of got more out of it as they were open to it. And she ended up sharing that she uses it now with her kids even at home. So it even impacted her personally. Like it was so cool to bring professional development to teachers as like a side benefit to what we were actually doing to help kids. So it was just like it almost like helped two in one ways. And then for the second phase, when we opened it up to the staff, I wasn't the one who asked the staff if they wanted to do it. I actually had a staff member who had taken the training get up, present, share what she had experienced. Because from colleague to colleague, we all know it can be more powerful that the principal told me I should do this. So I encouraged her. And at a faculty meeting, she shared the whole, 6-week program that she went through and how helpful it was for her and how she was using it with her students. And then when she put it out to staff, 8 to 10 staff members signed up. And I can guarantee you, if I had sit there and said, here's this and here, why don't you sign up? I'd probably get like 1 or 2. And then also experiencing it myself, it was easy to, spearhead the way with them together. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing. I've seen a lot of educators on Twitter who will share what they're doing maybe in their classroom, but it's really awesome to hear from a principal who is, working together with a core group of teachers to kind of get some buy-in with using these kinds of tools. So we have a little bit more time if anyone else has a question or something they'd like to share.
Or if you've seen this used in your school or personally. And if not, that's okay too. And I love what, I think Kathleen Wilson, that's Jackie, right? Is that Jackie? Yeah, she said we can put this into action in person and virtually, which is the beauty of it because we did start it in person and it naturally went virtual, where you can just set up a Zoom, you could record it. And I know a lot of people get kind of hesitant to do a live recording of themselves, but the more I'm learning about this area, people just want you to just totally be yourself, like just be you. And it's funny because I did a recording once with a 4th grade class and I completely did a blooper where I was like, hi everybody. And I just fumbled my words and I ended up leaving it in. And it was just hysterical because it's like, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to think like, well, I don't know how to master myself in front of a camera. You just shoot and start. And that's what's the beauty about kind of like our society right now with Facebook and Facebook Live. Like people just want the candid you. Like it's okay. Just be you. And I encourage my teachers because some of them during this remote learning, they were like, I'm so kind of timid to just, put myself out there or videotape myself. And I was like, you have the permission to just give yourself that break and relax. And if you mess it up, it's okay. We're all human. And it really just freed them to just kind of, take steps in this new space that's so new for a lot of us. And school counselors, yes, have been and continue to use mindfulness techniques. Yeah, keep it real. Kids appreciate seeing us being vulnerable too. That's so true. Yeah, we connect easily with them in that way.
Well, Karin and I are going to stick around here. And so if you have something you want to add to the conversation, either in the chat or feel free to turn your mic on. Welcome to do that. I am going to drop in the chat box the agenda once again so that if you haven't yet selected your next session, you can just click and take a look at what's happening at 11:30. And our day together actually ends at 12:30. So we try to make this a practical chunk of time for those of you who have a lot of other things going on right now and a lot of planning and follow-up to do with your families and staff. But Karin, I really thank you for your time and for putting together this resource. I see that you said on the screen that we can email you if we'd like a free mindfulness lesson video or a list of recommended books. So thank you for being willing to share that as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we're going to stick around here for a little bit if you'd like to unmute or chat in the chat box about this topic.
Well, that was neat to see. Sandra Prather, we are trying to make a mindfulness plan, so I can't wait to look at the YouTube channel. That's awesome. That's exciting. I wonder what district she's in or where she works.
Sandra, if you're still here, let us know where you're joining from. We do have some folks from out of state too. Oh, awesome. Meredith Middle School. Very
Oh,
cool.
awesome. Oh, Appo. Yay. I love Appo. I love a lot of the Appo. I don't know if it's mainly the elementary schools. They have that Leader in Me program. Are you familiar with that, Allison?
Yeah,
I
I've seen
love
it.
that.
Yeah.
That so syncs with my core philosophy of helping kids. And I read the book that goes with it from Stephen Covey, and it just inspired me where I would start having some of the troubled kids do like special, like be the door greeters during our tours. And so instead of them being in the office as the bad kid, they were actually telling about the whole school, and they were so good about it. Like they were the little mayor, and it changed the perceptions also of the front office staff of that child who was usually sitting there in trouble. And the kid like became a different person, and that's part of that whole philosophy of in every kid there's a leader. Like, and I always tell the kids, like, someone's always watching you, like whatever you're doing there's always someone watching you, like, so choose to do, you know, the right thing.
That's great. That's a great thing to add in. Thank you.